Lesson 17. Stir plot until thickened. Back at the mansion, Mrs. McLeary seems distraught over the loss of her painting. Mrs. McLeary. Constable, I insist that you do something to recover my painting. I am telephoning my son Farnsworth to come down from London by the first train. If something isn't done soon, I will tell him to bring a private detective. Do you have any suggestions for Constable Dobson? I think the window area as well as the picture frame should be dusted for fingerprints. Karen S. Good idea. Constable Dobson went to the library with his brush and baby powder and started dusting. Unfortunately, the results only turned up a few fingerprints on the window sill and one or two on the recovered picture frame. All of them were from either Mrs. McLeary or Brinkley, the butler. Brinkley the butler. Mrs. McLeary and I are the only persons allowed to handle the paintings, sir. It is my duty to dust them every morning, and Mrs. McLeary makes occasional adjustments. Constable Dobson. Is the picture that was stolen very different from the rest of the paintings? Brinkley the butler. Yes, sir. Mrs. McLeary's other paintings were inherited from the family collection, but the particular painting in question, the picnic by Manute, was purchased by Mrs. McLeary about a year ago, sir. As you can see, the original paintings are from a more classical period, while the picnic was of a somewhat, shall we say, modern taste. Constable Dobson. You seem to know a lot about paintings. Brinkley the butler. Yes, sir, I fancy myself somewhat of a connoisseur. I have been responsible for the collection for many years, even preceding the current Mrs. McLeary's ownership. Do you have any other suggestions? We were told the painting is worth practically nothing. What was it insured's value? Julie L. Insurance company. That particular painting was appraised at a very low value and therefore could not be insured. However, there is a large insurance policy on the picture frame that the painting was in. The frame is very old and of Italian design, and so it would command a high price on the art market. So the picture isn't insured? It's the frame that is insured? Mrs. McLeary. I want you to know, Constable, that no insurance company in the country could insure my Manute for what it is truly worth. Brinkley the butler. Excuse me, Constable. Mrs. Farnsworth has now arrived. It is your desire to speak with him for the purpose of gaining necessary information? Constable Dobson. Huh? What? Oh, yes, show him in. Farnsworth McLeary. What's this all about? Some poor chap made off with mother's cherished painting. What? Poor burglar doesn't know what he's in for. I can imagine his face when he looks at that thing in broad daylight. It's enough to curdle blood. Constable Dobson. So you would not say the painting is beautiful? Farnsworth. Beautiful? No. That thing looks as though it were created by an inebriated orangutan on the back of a camel. Constable Dobson. Indeed. Have you any idea who might have stolen it? Farnsworth. No idea who would want that thing. As I told you, one look at that ghastly thing will knock at least a week off your life. Interesting. What do you think the constable should do next? Has the constable conducted a search of the entire house to look for the painting? Annie W. Brinkley. Constable, I believe a search would at this time be unnecessary, as the painting, or rather what remains of the painting, has been recovered. Constable Dobson. What? Where? Brinkley. Yes, sir. The maid discovered a charred corner a few moments ago in the library fireplace. She recognized it by its peculiar color, sir. Exercise A. Now it's your turn to solve the mystery of the stolen minute. Who stole the painting and burned it in the fireplace? And explain why. Hint. You have all the information necessary. To solve the mystery, decide who has the strongest motive for the crime. Nobody in stir plot until thickened is lying. Below is a list of the possible suspects. Number 1, Farnsworth W. McLeary, son of Mrs. McLeary, 30-something, friendly, and happy-go-lucky, had Danish and tea for breakfast. 2, Brinkley the butler, over 50, calm and cool, disciplined, apt to use elaborate language, sensitive in matters of taste, had bacon and eggs served for breakfast. 3, Mrs. McLeary, over 65, interested in art, but with odd taste, a little excitable and imaginative, had nothing for breakfast, too upset. 4, Mrs. Norton, around 50, appears to dislike Mrs. McLeary, intelligent, gardens as a hobby, had a bagel with cream cheese for breakfast. 5. Pinky the vagrant, age unknown, uses bad grammar, curious, not overly intelligent, but able to put two and two together. The jailer gave him bacon and eggs for breakfast. For the solution to the mystery of the stolen minute, see the answer key.